Hello and welcome to the Mirror Project. We're your hosts, Christine
and Alexandra.
And today we're inviting you to settle in with us for a good old-fashioned cozy catch-up. No big agenda, no perfect script, just a conversation between two best friends about everything that's been going on lately. What we're loving, what's driving us a little crazy, and all the little things in between. Somehow we're already almost halfway through the year, and honestly, we're just trying to keep up. One coffee, one playlist, and one chaotic group chat at a time. So, grab your comfiest blanket, pour yourself something delicious, and let's get cozy on the couch and catch up. Before we delve into today's riveting topic, make sure to hit that subscribe or follow button on your preferred listening platform. Take a moment to do it now before it slips your mind. Trust us, we're not getting started without you. Let's make this journey together. All right, so cozy catch-up. I'm so excited we're doing this today. I feel like we haven't done anything like this since we've started the podcast, and I just like the idea of us sitting down and just sort of giving those listening a glimpse into what a typical conversation is like for us when we haven't had a chance to catch up in a while. So we're going to get into all the things today.
I feel like It's not uncommon for us if we haven't caught up or we keep missing each other. We'll spend 2.5, 3 hours on the phone just gabbing about whatever's been going on.
Yeah. What we loving lately, what we hating lately, what crazy thing happened? Speaking of crazy things, this is a little tangent before we dive in. So, this is so dumb. One day this week, Friday, getting ready for work, get in the car, open the door, close it, and somehow I managed to close a bee in the car with me. And for those who don't know, which is most of you, I'm very afraid of bees. I'm slightly allergic to them. So I've been stung 2 times in my life, and it's the worst feeling ever. So I was like just immediately paralyzed with fear. And I'm sitting in my front seat, and I'm like literally trying to backbend over the center console. I'm like, how do I get this bee out? Because I hadn't had a chance to turn the car on. So I didn't want to move to spook it, but I also knew I had to do something, or else we were just going to have a standoff in this car for who knows how long. So I quickly turned my car on, and thank God for automatic window. Like, I just pressed the button down and the window lowered all on its own, and the bee went out, and I quickly closed the window again. And then I was just like, I took a deep breath, and then I just started laughing at myself because how ridiculous that was. No one was around to see it, but I was just like, okay, happy Friday, everyone. This is how the day started.
Happy Friday, a little acrobatic motion to get you going, and you're like,
haven't bent that way in a very long time. So yeah, that's just a little funny thing I hadn't updated you on, and it just popped into my head. I was like, let's start off with that because it's so stupid.
No, but sometimes something gets trapped in there, and you're like, if you ever get spiders crawling across things, and you're just like, driving down the highway, and I can't do anything about this, but you're right there. Please don't come this way. Where did you come from?
How did you get in here anyway? Yeah. Me and insects.
Friends.
Sometimes I can deal with it. Sometimes I'm like, don't come near me.
You're like, I like you from afar. Just stay out of my personal bubble.
You have a purpose in the world's ecosystem, and I respect that. You just don't need to interact with me. We don't need to like cross paths. Mm-hmm. And if you believe in reincarnation, I did not hurt the bee. The bee left. So hopefully, if that is in fact what happens, I don't come back in a next life as a bee. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Or spiders. I want spiders.
And something I've been experiencing as living alone in a very old building, silverfishes. Have you ever seen those?
Have you not? With a lot of legs.
Yeah,
I remember. Do you remember you were over at my apartment in South Orange, and I think I screamed like a tiny child, and I got up because there was one under the fridge, and I was just like, "What the heck is this?" And Christine, oh yeah,
they're gross, and I understand they have a reason to be on this planet, but
Too many
I'm
legs.
sorry. I don't know what to do with it. It's so many legs. They can be so big.
You're almost like, here, can I write you into a contract for rent? Like, that side's yours. Just
You can have
stay over there.
the underside of the fridge is your domain. You just stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Oh.
a little tangent about insects for everyone to start your day. But let's dive in, shall we?
Sure.
So the first thing we wanted to catch up on is travel for this year. A lot of things we've been talking about, hoping to do, seeing what we can make happen. I know together we had talked about doing a trip with our moms. We've been talking about doing this for a very long time. I want to take Alex and her mom, with my mom, up to one of our favorite spots, which is Newport, Rhode Island. It's so beautiful, and it's just my happy place. And I want them both to experience it. So
All
that's
her pictures are so beautiful. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go.
yeah, because I don't know if you've ever been up there. Have
No,
you
I've
been
never been to Rhode
to
Island.
what about Massachusetts? Which is
No,
not
I've never
far,
been
like
to
Boston?
Massachusetts either. So Boston's on the list eventually.
Okay.
When it was funny when we were first friends and you're like, oh, I love going to Newport Beach. I was like, oh, you've been to Newport Beach. And I'm thinking Southern California, Newport Beach. And you're like, no. And I was like, oh, no, I've not been there.
But yeah, but I don't even know if I really realized there was a Newport in California. So just another thing that I love about our relationship is we teach each other new things
I've been
almost
to
every
the
day.
other Newport.
The other one. But yeah, Newport, Rhode Island is so beautiful. If you've never been, it's a tiny coastal town in Rhode Island. It was the vacation home for the wealthy back in the Gilded Era. So there's a beautiful section of the island. I don't know if it's an island actually. The beautiful section of the town that is preserved by the Newport Historical Society, and you get to go and tour these gorgeous summer cottages, as they called them, but they're literal mansions, gilded to the nines.
I think I aimed a summer cottage like that.
Yeah, it's opulent. Oh my God, I can't talk today.
That's okay.
It's super opulent, super gilded, gold, filigree everywhere. They're honestly beautiful. And if you've ever watched the show The Gilded Age, I think it's an HBO show that's sort of akin to Downton Abbey, but it's the American version. Takes place in New York and then up in Newport because that's where a lot of these people vacationed. So yes, I've been wanting to take Alex there forever, and we thought it would be a great trip for us to do with our mom. So we're trying to figure out when we can make that happen. We had initially tried to do it end of June.
I think one of the dates you had thrown out was Father's Day. And we're like, nope, can't do that.
Yeah, I was like, whoopsies, forgot that was that weekend. My
You're
bad.
like, hey, Dad.
Yeah. And then we talked about last week, but as we're going to hear more later, Alexandra has some exciting work updates. Yeah. So it just wasn't the right time. So we're trying to figure out when might be a better time to do that, and we want to make it really special. So,
and then thinking about it, you talked about Newport in the winter, like Christmas all decked for the houses. So part of me is like thinking like, oh, maybe that will be a good time possibly, because that sounded so pretty, and some of the pictures you've shown were just gorgeous.
Yes, we did that not this past Christmas, the Christmas before. We went up the day after Christmas, and that was our first time going up that time of year ever, and it is off season, so it's a beautiful opportunity to see the mansions decked out for Christmas, but there isn't a whole lot going on because it's really a summer town. So some businesses close down in their off season. I don't recommend going. I don't even think you can go on a sail in the harbor that time of year. Yeah, which. Not to discount going that time of year. I loved it. It was a cool experience, but
like summer
it's its peak in the summertime.
Okay.
So we will figure out when we can make that trip happen for us. But as we've sort of settled into, since Alexandra moved down to North Carolina, we like to do our yearly trips down and up to visit each other. So the plan is to have her come visit me in New Jersey in December, again, maybe around my birthday or
I'd
a little
love to
sooner.
make it a little longer and catch up with an old college roommate as well, and actually maybe get to spend more than 2 days. Although this past time I was there for what, 3 days, 4 days, so that was cool.
3.5, yeah, it was cool.
We're
did
stretching it out.
We're getting there. Well, you finally can breathe a little bit after finishing your program and getting your master's, and yeah, I'm just sort of excited to see what will come this year, what will come next year, and the years to come in terms of our trips to visit each other. So.
Yeah, because you've talked about the Gilded Age mansions, summer cottages up in Newport. And I've been to the Biltmore Mansion a couple times here in Asheville. So I'd love to take you, Christine, to go, and you can see both of their homes.
Yes, because it's funny, on one of the tours I went on, like, for instance, the Vanderbilt family, very influential family of the day, and even to today, the family still has, their name holds a lot of weight. They had multiple summer homes, not just in Newport. They had one down in, I think, South Carolina, over in Europe, and maybe France or something. Like,
wow.
Uber wealthy, like, of the time. So they definitely didn't have any shortage of vacation homes.
Like,
but
it's just popping off to here for a week, and let me go off here to a week.
Right. You really just close your eyes and throw a dart at the map and just figure out what house you have nearby. But it's really cool to sort of step back in time and see what it was like to live then, because the tours they set up are really fascinating. That not only do you tour the home, but you go down and you, in one of the mansions in particular, you go through the kitchen and you learn about the staff that like help run this estate, because it's not a little cottage, and it's very cool. So I'm really looking forward to showing Alexandra and her mom around Newport, and excited to see what we get up to later in the year when you come back this way. And who knows, I haven't yet figured out the latter half of the year yet, if I'll be able to make it down again to visit. But we had talked about going out to Asheville, Biltmore. You've said before that the holiday season, it's beautiful down there that time of the year. So
yeah, I'd never seen the house decked out for the holidays. I've always gone later winter, so it's still really beautiful. Like, I haven't been in the summer when the gardens are in full bloom. But yeah, I'd love to see the house.
I do love gardens.
Fully. Yeah, there's a couple options.
There are. I would love to give a little update on potential trips that I'm thinking about doing this year. So I'm very excited. Summer is just around the corner, and I love the beach. If you don't know already, I love the ocean. I love my beach time, and I love living in Jersey because we have the Jersey Shore. So it's an hour, not even an hour drive sometimes, to get my beach in. So I'm very much looking forward to that this coming summer, because I didn't really do a whole lot last summer, now that I'm thinking about it. So I'm trying to capitalize on that. And then my sisters were in town just last weekend for my mom's birthday. She had a big birthday this year. She turned 60. And her and my sister Tori actually share a birthday. So they're both April 13th. And so my sisters came to celebrate. We had a nice big party for my mom, but we also got to celebrate with Tori because we weren't with her on her actual birthday. And started talking about, I've been wanting to do a sister trip with them for years. And I'm like, let's figure out how to make this happen. We don't have to go anywhere crazy. So I think we're thinking about doing a trip down to Nashville. I haven't been down there since 2023, when she first moved out there. I think I came out to visit her before the 4th of July. It was when I had gone down to visit you first, and we went out to the Outer Banks. Also really great trip, by the way. Highly recommend. Very cool. Excuse me. And then I went out and visited Tori in Nashville. So I haven't been since. And so we're thinking about doing that. I think that is going to be July. Yes, July potentially. So more to come on that. And then I also always, think about this in retrospect, but I never am a tourist in my own town. So I really want to try and stay maybe a little closer to home this summer, do more things locally. There's always so much going on, and I wish I just take better advantage of that. So whether that's going to one of the local parks, or there's always like fun different community events going on in the summer, whether it's the jazz festival or Montclair has a great film festival, jazz festival, pride, all the things. So much fun stuff going on right here in my where I live. So I want to try and do that this summer.
And it really was a lot of fun walking around Montclair last time I came and visited you, because it was the first time I think we really had time to actually walk around your town. And I was like, this is such a cool place to live. And I think there's so easily you could do new stuff all the time. So
For sure. Yeah, it is a fun town. There's great restaurants, shops. There's always something going on. So I just want to experience that a little bit more while I'm here. And then I was thinking about this past week. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but maybe next year, definitely trying to make this trip I've had in mind for years finally happen. I've been dying to do a road trip from Washington down to Northern California.
okay.
I don't know if we'll do California up to Seattle or the reverse, how it's all going to work out, but I've always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do a road trip. There's such beautiful scenery, coastline, parks. I want to go see the redwoods. So this week I was thinking more about that trip, and I'm like, I want to figure out how to make that happen, and whether I go by myself or my sisters come or whatever the case may be, I want to do it. And yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. Travel
or down PCH, and
yes,
you could also go down a little bit further, but I think going through California can be a minimum 8-hour drive.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I came across an article of this photographer who did this trip. He started in San Francisco near the Golden Gate Bridge, and he documented the whole trip, took beautiful photos, started there and worked his way up to Seattle.
Nice.
So I think I looked at it, and like from the San Francisco to just like the Redwood National Forest at like upper part of Northern California, that in itself is 6 hours. So yeah, I have to figure out how that would all work. But then from there up to Washington, I think I'd have to double check, but it was like 13 hours. And so once you left California, it was from there to Washington, it wasn't as long distance wise. So anyway, I don't know. I have a lot of research to do on that, figuring out what places I want to stop or all of that. Yeah. Cool. But how about you, Alexandra? Are there any other trips percolating in your mind, or
for this
have
year,
you had a chance to think about it at all?
No, a friend talked about maybe going to Sedona next year, but I think this year it's mostly going to be in-state stuff. There's day trips out to Raleigh or Charlotte or some other places because I'm seeing some shops that I want to go to, or like different food things, just to go see different like museums. I went to the Raleigh Museum of Art, or Raleigh Art Museum, can't remember which way it goes, recently when they had their exhibition Art in Bloom, I think it was called. So they had a bunch of art, I'm going to call them floral artists, who came and did an interpretation of a painting in flowers. Live flowers are freshly cut flowers, so the artist would come in for a week and refresh their pieces. So that was really beautiful. So I'd actually like to go back to that museum and then spend a little more time in Raleigh when it's not, art. I think it's Art in Bloom, that exhibition, and then do other things. So I think that's going to be mostly kind of getting in the swing of my new job. So, and then trying to take care of everything else. And mom's had some health stuff, so I want to get her totally I hate to say up and running like a computer, but good to go before we all head up to Newport, because I want her to enjoy it and feel comfortable walking without. She's had a bad knee, and then she's having a bout of sciatic nerve pain. So trying to get her all squared away and all back to rights before we really push her to the limits with walking. I think that's it so far this year. And then, of course, coming up to see you and making sure I get in time to see a college friend while we're near the city, see her new baby and catch up on life.
Because you said that they just bought a house, right?
I think so. I think that's what they said. They were either looking or just purchasing. So that'll be cool.
That's exciting. I can't believe it. It was like just
Yeah.
it's much
2
longer
years
than I
ago.
realized. But that we went to their wedding, and now they have
Yeah.
a kid and bought a house and all
I
this
know.
stuff. And I'm like, hey,
I'm still living my life.
still single.
You're like, I'm just trying.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason at its own pace. But
Yeah. That'll be cool. Just
Yeah.
taking a year to figure out myself, my life.
yeah, well, you've been doing so much. You were working towards that big goal of your MBA, so now it's sort of, okay, that's behind me. What do I do with myself and time now? what do I want to do? Rediscovering things, figuring out what
yeah.
you want.
I'd love to
Totally
go
get
back to
that.
DC. I think that would be really fun. I went a year or two ago, I think, with my sister and our friend, and I'd love to go back. I feel like that was such a short trip that it would be really, that's like a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah,
So I feel like you said, not really taking time to explore your own state. I think more of my goal.
for sure. I think we talked about doing a trip together because,
Yeah.
like, it's a.
Then we can just
I mean,
meet in the middle.
yeah, meet in the middle. I take the train, you take the train. It's a little bit longer, but of a journey for me. But I don't care. I'll travel anywhere.
I think it's still like a 14-hour. No, that might be wrong. 8. It's an hour drive. So drive.
Fair, fair. Yeah, I think it's a few hour. It's like a. I don't know. Anyway,
What is time?
we'll figure it out. But yeah, I haven't been back to DC. I think I've only been really once, and it was when I was in middle school. So I would love to go back and experience that city. I've was near it several years ago, right before the pandemic and everything shut down in March 2020. I went for a bachelorette to
That's
Old
right.
Town Alexandria, and that was beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been to that town. It's got so much charm. It reminded me a lot of New Orleans when we were walking by the water and we were
Okay.
looking at
Yeah.
that square there. Very similar. It's right by water. It's got old cobblestone streets and a
Ooh,
lot of
pretty.
charm, and it's really nice. So
Okay. Yeah, we could do a couple days
Something-
in DC and then maybe go out into Virginia or
Yeah,
something.
for
That sounds like it
sure.
would be fun.
now we're gonna ask you guys in the comments. You should let us know what travel plans you're thinking of doing, big or small. It doesn't have to be anything major.
But
Just-
while we're talking about travel plans, Christine, what are your thoughts about traveling around the holidays?
So I've been doing that a lot these last several years. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun. I've experienced different areas at a very festive time of the year. I think it's split a lot of the times where some people don't do it, so it's not always as busy, but it's still, so it's not, if you're traveling to an area where it's still off season, it's still peak for them a little bit because of the holiday season. So it's a lot of fun. Everyone's cheery most of the time, happier around the holidays, but it can be really hard and a really big drain because the year's wrapping up. You've already, like, whether you went all out celebrating before you went on trips, or it's just, there's a lot going on at the end of the year. So it can be really difficult. And having done it the last years, this year I think I'm gonna say I'm not gonna travel this coming holiday. Just gonna stay put, rest, relax, recharge. But that's not always a choice for people. I know for my sisters in particular, they both live out of state, so no matter what, they're traveling back home to New Jersey to be with my parents and myself. But yeah, how do you feel, Alexandra? Have you done much traveling around the holidays before?
Not so much around like the Christmas, winter holidays. I've traveled in college for Thanksgiving and the Easter, spring holidays. I don't know. It's interesting. Sometimes, like, if you're going because of family, that can be both exciting but also draining because it's travel. And depending on how well you get along with your family, that can also be, either
True.
a positive or not so positive for some people. But like you said, I mean, it's already like that time of the year. You're ending things of you're either going out for Christmas or doing all these, just getting together with people. And I feel like here in the States, it's like we back up and we both love Halloween. A lot of my close friends are birthdays in the fall, early winter. So it's like birthday, Halloween, birthday, Thanksgiving, birthday, Christmas, birthday. So
Yeah,
it
it's
kind of gets to be
funny.
a lot. So I love just kind of chilling. And I don't feel like I've really had a chance to do that the past few years, particularly with the program. I feel like I've been, though I haven't had a class during the winter shutdown, it's immediately gearing up for the next semester, trying to get in everything you have to do for what you want to pull together for people. And the past few years struggled with feeling like not pulling enough together for people because of just feeling so time crunched. But yeah, I think travel for the holidays only if you really enjoy it. And I think it's different. If you're traveling 45 minutes to go to a family's house for dinner, you're like, yeah, there might be time to just suck it up and go if you're not really close with that family or, an hour and a half away. But if you have to get on a plane, travel, I don't know, maybe if you really love
Yeah.
them. If not, I think it's also okay to say, hey, I just need some time for myself. It's a lot to do any holiday. So,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
curious. I would love for those of who are listening, if they are interested in sharing, have you ever chosen to not travel? Like whether you are single and living alone and just need to stay home, or you make the choice to just, celebrate with friends or local family and not go. Yeah, I'm just curious to hear what other people's experiences are like and what goes into their decision making. And yeah, so I'd love to know, love to hear. Craving more of our company? Join the fun over on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Mirror Project Pod. Dive deeper into our world and engage with us on a whole new level. Don't miss out on the excitement.
I think we have truly covered the topic of travel. Christine, how about we
Yes.
dive into something that you mentioned in the beginning, like what we are loving at the moment and what we
Sure.
aren't loving, what might be driving us crazy, things that we are like, oh, can this trend just pass on? Should we start with books?
I think we should start with
Okay.
books.
All right.
We could talk forever, so let's just start and get going and move on.
Okay. Might have to hold ourselves accountable to time here because, we
Yes,
really could
because we
talk
could
for hours
really,
about books.
exactly, we really could.
Alrighty.
Why
Do
don't
you
you
want to?
Why don't you kick us off,
Okay.
Alexandra?
I know that we had posted a little while ago in our current reads post about the books that we're reading. And I was listening to Why Woo Works by David Hamilton. And there's a chapter on, I think it's chapter 2 on meditations. And it brought up something interesting because he was talking about the similarity but differences between mantras and affirmations, which made me think of our first episode, or no, second episode that we did last year. And so I kind of wanted to update what we had said based on this
Sure.
information that he had researched and found out. And it's actually a really cool book if you're into like more woo-woo practices, spiritual. It kind of gives you a lexicon for talking to people who maybe are not as into that aspect and more scientific background. So it's kind of a fun read. I love it. Or listen. He's got a Scottish accent, which is really, really
Ooh.
fun to listen to.
Scottish accent that you can understand, because sometimes that accent gets a little
Oh
hard
no,
for me
no,
to.
it's understandable.
Okay, good.
I think I showed Christine a video of a bakery I follow in the Highlands of Scotland, and that's a tough accent. There's some times where
It
she
can
gets
be.
going, and I'm like, "What?
I need subtitles, but I'm standing here.
I'm with you. I promise. I think." No, but this is it's like a very enjoyable listen Scottish accent. Like you can easily understand. It's
Good.
beautiful. Keep talking. But these are some direct quotes from that second chapter. So Dr. Hamilton, he's a PhD, was talking about the word mantra is derived from two Sanskrit words, manas, mind, and tra, tools or instruments. So literally a mind tool. And that in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, a mantra is a sound, a word, or a short phrase that is intoned repeatedly during meditation, contemplation, and prayer. He noted that a key difference between an affirmation and a mantra is that while the former an affirmation tends to be a positive statement. The latter, or mantra, is a mystical utterance that is considered sacred and to have deep spiritual significance. In Hinduism and Buddhism, Om is the most sacred of all mantras. It refers to Atman, which is the soul, and or self within, and Brahman, ultimate reality, truth, universe, and divine supreme being. He goes on to say that mystics say that the sound produces vibrations in our consciousness that align us with the universal consciousness, that many mantras are words or phrases that are associated with love or compassion or are statements of spiritual insight. He notes that another key difference between affirmation and a mantra is that an affirmation tends to require a determined mental effort to make a focused statement, while a mantra requires much less effort. It is more passive and has a calming effect. He goes into some of the science of like brain imaging that they had done to show that affirmations tend to activate the parts of the brain that align with or associate with concentration, whereas mantras tend to deactivate that part of the brain and calm those regions. So I thought that was really interesting because I think a lot of what we were talking about in that sayings and mantra probably leaned more affirmation based than traditional mantra. And I just thought that was so cool because I never really knew the specific difference.
I
So I was
certainly
like,
didn't.
that was so cool. I was like, I was listening
Sometimes
to
I
it.
think sometimes I think I've used those words interchange, like,
Yeah, interchangeably.
yeah. But now we have a better understanding of what is the difference. Interesting.
And I like that I think he goes on to talk about like one of the more well-known mantras. I don't know if it's Buddhist or tradition, but Om Mani Padme Hum. Something, I think it means something like the jewel in the lotus. But it's like, it is very different when you think about, I would say, I guess now called more traditional mantras and how they are can be very rhythmic and very calming versus this statement that I'm trying to affirm or manifest. So it is really interesting now that I think about one is like I'm activating parts of my brain for concentration. One is like I'm calming myself and I'm just aligning my vibration. So that's fun.
Okay. Well,
Anyways,
thanks for that little lesson and update. I think that's really fascinating. Thank
so I
you.
was like,
Very
let
cool.
me nerd out.
I'll let you nerd out anytime.
All right. So Christine, you want to kick us off on the books,
On the
the
books, the
non self
not.
help books?
Sure, I can. Happy to. So, first off, I've really been reading a lot this year, more than anything else. I haven't been really watching very much or listening to very much, but I have been reading. I'm actually very close to hitting my reading goal for the year, and I
Hey.
want to see if I can like maybe double it. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
absolutely. I think you
Well,
can. We're only halfway
yeah.
through the year, so
If I keep up this rate, I may just do that. Who knows? So, been reading nonstop, and some of the favorites that I've listened to or read so far from this year is Throne of the Fallen by
okay.
Carrie Maniscalco, which, if you're not familiar with her, this is her third series, but it's actually within the same world of one of her previous series. So we've both listened to Stalking Jack the Ripper, right?
Yep.
We both loved that. I read a few years ago, and Alexander just started the Kingdom of the Wicked series, which the Throne of the Fallen takes place in the same world. But that's one of my favorites so far this year. It's, if you're not familiar with the series, how do I do this in a nutshell?
There's a lot of
So,
information to cram into like
yeah,
a book
basically,
jacket.
exactly. Basically, there are 7 princes of hell, and they all focus on one of the 7 deadly sins. So, Kingdom of the Wicked focuses particularly on the Prince Wrath and his story, his love story, because they are romances. And then Kingdom of the Fallen, Throne of the Fallen, not Kingdom, Throne of the Fallen, focuses on a new prince, and it's a great time.
Which prince does it focus on?
Oh, see, I've read 2. She's released 2, and now I need to remember. Let me look that up really quick.
It's like
I think it's
pause.
Envy, but let me
Pause for
double check.
research.
So this story revolves around Prince Envy and his romance, and basically this is going to be a series, but each book is going to be a one-off. So it's focusing on one specific prince and their love story or romance or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Yes.
You think you said it was the Dark and You series, where in that series the first 4 books were on one couple, and then all the others have been like one-offs with same world related characters.
Exactly. Yes. And this is new adult, so there is plenty of steamy, spicy moments, and it's a good time. It's fun. It's playful. It's fun to sort of, because you meet the other princes in the original series, but you don't really get to know them. So this is a fun insight into them more, and so that's was one of the main, so far, one of my favorite books that I've read this year. I've also really I love a good mystery, murder mystery, whodunit. I read The House Across the Lake this year, which I should give, let me look up the author of that one. I didn't write that down. Silly me. Riley Sager, I believe, is that author, but I'm just going to double check.
I feel like I'm looking for some good murder mysteries, although I might want to reread a series that I haven't picked up in a while. That's about it's a 2-part series now. The original series is I think it's called the Fatal series. So the first one is Fatal Affair, and it's about a Metro DC cop and somebody who worked for a senator, so like a politician. And each book obviously is a standalone. It's a different case, but the characters, the detectives, the people related to them all cross. And then, of course, there's now a second spin-off series, which I won't give the series title to because it would reveal too much if anyone was interested. But it's a really good book.
Interesting. Huh,
yeah.
Okay.
Although I was talking to my sister about it, and we were talking about the most recent one in the new series, and we're like, yeah, the main character's kind of pissing us off, but I guess we need to read it. Maybe it'll get better. So.
Maybe it'll get better. I always like to give it the benefit of the doubt. Let me see how it evolves, because sometimes they do that on purpose.
You're like, if you can come back in the next one, I guess we'll give it to you.
All right, cool. But yes, The House Across the Lake was not only one of my favorite books I've read this year, but has been one of my favorite mysteries that I've read recently, because I really wasn't, it had some good unexpected things happen. I don't necessarily want to give too much away, but you think you know who the villain is, and then
surprise, it's not.
Surprises come. Yeah. Okay. So highly recommend that one. And then another one I mentioned in our favorite current reads that we posted, The People You Meet on Vacation, is just a fun, lighthearted rom-com by Emily Henry, and it's actually being adapted into a film, and it's starring the actress, I'm blanking on her name at the moment, but if you watched My Lady Jane, she's the main actress from that show in this movie that's coming out.
Can I just want to say how disappointed I am that show's not coming back?
I'm so bummed that it's not coming back. And mostly I think it's because Amazon did it such a disservice in how it marketed that show. Like, it truly is, I've been describing it as like Ella Enchanted for adults.
Yes. You could have captured the entire market that was in love with Ella Enchanted. Which I actually recently rewatched. But it's so freaking good.
Yeah, it is so freaking good. So she's going to be starring in this adaptation of this book by Emily Henry. Such a fun read, great beach read, great or non-beach read right now. It's so good. And then I've also delved more this year into the dark romantasy sphere. Alexandra has recommended stuff to me. I've recommended stuff to her, but I've read Quicksilver, Lights Out, Haunting Adeline, Haunting and Hunting. I've read both. What else? I read the first book in the Lord series, The Ritual.
Right? The Ritual. I love how that one bills it as like a university. I'm like, don't
dark
fucking go to school.
They don't.
What college? There is no, if you just accept that they really don't go to class and that they somehow still graduate, then I think you'll be fine.
And then become like leaders in the world.
It doesn't. So fucked up. The whole series is so fucked up. And if you just go,
I've only read the one. So I haven't gotten back to the rest of the series yet, but yeah, So I've read some like varying degrees of dark romance. So like some that are not as dark and graphic as others. It's definitely read the content warnings, one. Take care of yourself, two. But if you want to try something different that's a little like taboo, I feel like there's plenty of good books out there that will scratch that itch for you.
Did I tell you what happened when I was reading the Lord series on my Kindle app?
I don't know if you did.
So it was so funny. I knew that I had seen from things on, social media. Oh, there's trigger warnings, like it's a dark romance, all this stuff. Okay, so I jump into reading it. I never saw the freaking trigger warnings. And I'm just going through and I'm like, damn, okay. Oh, what? And
they should really warn you before you read this.
Luckily, I didn't have any issues with it. But
sure.
And then I'm into the second one, and I'm like, man, it's so odd that they don't include the trigger warning. So I'm just going through. By the third book, I finally realized that Kindle was taking me to the prologue, skipping the title page, like the table of contents, the trigger warnings. And I was like, oh. So Kindle was like, I assume you purchased this. You know what you're into. Here we go.
You were so kind. You gave me that little heads up because she wasn't sure how I was going to read it. I actually listened to the first book, but yeah, there are trigger warnings. Take a look at them before you get into it.
Because if you just go there, you're like, oh, what?
Yeah. And it takes a little bit of adjusting, and it's not for everyone, but I'm having a great time.
I will say that's something I noticed on your list. That's also on my list.
Yes.
And it was really freaking good. It was so good. It was so funny. And it was it's weird to say that it was lighter for a dark romance.
Lights out? Girl.
It was funny as all get out.
It was very funny. And so I read that after reading both
Haunting and then Haunting. Haunting and then Hunting.
Haunting and which, dark as hell, especially Hunting. God damn it, they're so similar. But it was really good. It was funny. It was lighthearted. And then something I think a lot of people sometimes complain about is the insta love that happens in a lot of these romance genre in general can be. I'm like, why the hell are you here? It's fictional. It's not supposed to make sense. So what if they're like in love with each other after locking eyes or spending 2 minutes or stalking them on social media or whatever the case may be?
To live it. You don't have to do that. You don't have to fall in insta love, but leave my romance books alone.
Let me live in my world of my bubble. But yeah.
I feel like if anyone wants to listen to it, read it. Plug your ears.
I've heard good things about the audiobook.
I haven't listened to the preview, but I just read it and it was great. Because again, what is this? Spoiler alert. That's the word. I was like, I just love the whole accidental murder. And then they're like, yeah, the couple that stays together. And you're like, and then it just snowballs.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Oh, it's so great. It's a good time.
Oh, it's a good time. I had fun with that one. And then I'll wrap it up really quick. My last little update. Actually, two things. Something you got me onto, hockey romances. I will say I haven't delved outside of the pucking around universe yet.
I'm like,
and I know that is
a 20.
hot topic. Yeah, I know that. And I know that is like a hot topic for people. There can be a lot of controversy around that series, but leave me alone. I'm having a good fucking time. Okay? This all started when... Yes, this all started. Alexandra came up to visit around my birthday this past year. We went to the Rip Bodice in New York and Brooklyn. Fun. If you are in the Brooklyn, New York, or New Jersey, like if you can get there, I recommend going. It's a great time. They also have a location in California. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Where? That might be a trip. I have to go back to my state.
Maybe?
Oh, I have to go back to my state. Okay.
So that's one of the books she picked up. She had heard something about the story and was interested. No? Mm-mm. You hadn't heard?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I thought
I
you had
just saw
seen
the
something
title
about
and I was
it.
like, oh, that sounds fun.
Oh
Mm-mm.
my
Hadn't
gosh.
read it.
My
Didn't know a
bad.
single thing about it.
Okay. Well, now we know a lot about it.
I think your first comment to me after you started, she's like, how did you not talk to anyone about this?
I, yes, so she read it and then I started after her and I couldn't not talk about it to her. I was like, "How did you not say anything to me?" Because usually we talk about our books. Well, I just had to talk about it, so I was very surprised she didn't.
Well,
But yeah.
I think I'd mentioned the hockey thing before, and you're like, well, I was like, okay, well,
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily on board, but
uh,
it was
did
available
that
to
convert you
listen.
to the hockey romances?
I'm fully in. I'm also like, what other sport romances could I get into? Let's
Oh, I
see.
got a series for you if you want different
Yeah,
sports. Pause for research. I have to figure out
sure.
the actual title of the series.
What sport?
All the sports.
Oh, all sports.
Oh, interesting. She must be changing the covers, and my Nook app must be updating it. So it is the Play by Play series by J.C. Burton. The first book is The Perfect Play, and then it kind of goes through. So you asked what sport it is. It's kind of like all the sports. So the first one is a football romance. The second one, baseball. Then there's hockey, football,
Oh.
baseball, race car driving,
Ooh.
football, hockey,
Okay.
predominantly football, but there's a couple other sports in there. I don't There's not been any basketball. So I think I found that series when I
Interesting.
was like a teenager, college. So that was probably one of my first forays into sports romance books. And they're really fun. It's all the characters, it's one off books, but they're all connected. So you'll kind of meet the couple or the people who will be in the next book. Um,
Well, that's
so that's
fun.
a fun one if you want like different sports. And then
Sure.
some, I don't know. Oh, I remember how I got into hockey smut and hockey romance. I, there's a audiobook narrator I really like, and I don't know if we've talked about this in the podcast before, but I was looking at other books. She narrates under two different names, and came across this one book written by Helena Hunting, and it was the start of her, I think, fourth series in the same world, so kind of all connected, but you can read them as a standalone. And it was called If You Hate Me, and I love the narrators. It's a good time. It's not. And so from that, I went back and I bought pretty much all of Helena Hunting's books in those series. And so I read from the very first series, which I think the first one's called Fucked. And then it's then the second series, then the third, and then finally to the Toronto Terror series, which I'm loving so far. And she's got a
Oh.
couple one-off books that are about characters in that, but not necessarily main characters in hockey. So
Okay.
I think she's got one coming out that's again in the world, but may not be totally linked into the series. So
I'm wondering, did I download anything by her? Because that name is familiar. No, not yet. But yeah, she's on my list to read.
and she's very funny. All the characters I think they're such good, well written stories. I know that I included Chase Lovett Wants Me, I think, in the current reads, and that's one of
Yep.
the spin-offs, but not in the main series of the Toronto Terror one. And then we both listen to audiobooks. This might be an Audible original or an Audible only, but it was one called Know Your Newlyweds, and it was a full cast, but it almost reminded me of the old radio shows where they do a lot of sound effects and music with it. So it's not just a full cast narration, it's all these other things. It's a fun listen. It was short. I think it was like maybe 5 hours, but it was really
Oh,
fun. It was really cute.
that,
I would listen to it again.
that's cool.
Kind of got me
Nice.
more into the duet narrations or the full cast narrations. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
Any books you haven't been loving before we move on to the next
Ooh,
thing?
that's a good question. There's been some that I'm just like, eh. There hasn't been any that I did not finish.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last book that I really didn't like, I haven't read anything this year that I really didn't like. But last year I read a book by Leah Bardugo, which is an author I've
Yep.
heard lots about. There are other books by her that I'm interested in reading, but this one just didn't do it for me. It's Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I read that last year. It wasn't for me. But there's been some that are just meh, but I didn't
Power
mind.
through it.
Yeah, I didn't mind. Like right now, actually, I'm listening to a book. What's it called? Pretty Little Savage, I think is the name of the book by Lucy Smoke. I
I feel like I've heard about that one. Yeah.
I downloaded through Audible my subscription. Like you get access to some titles that are like included in it. Essentially, you don't have to use a credit or pay for to download and listen to it. The whole trilogy was available, and I was like, you know what? Why not? It could be also that I've just been listening to a lot more smutty, spicy stuff recently. There hasn't been a whole lot of that. There's been a lot of like build up, but I'm 80% of the way through. I have 3 hours left, and I haven't had that payoff yet, so that's a little annoying. But something that has wrecked me, but I'm so happy that I have read. So I've finally, it took me long enough, but I have delved into the world of fan fiction. And I have dabbled in the past, don't get me wrong. But this is one that I really went in, and I went in on a specific ship that I think a lot of people, there's a lot out there to read of this ship, and a lot of people probably might be able to guess, but I finally have started reading some Hermione fan fiction, which if you don't know what Hermione is, where the hell have you been? Are you, what's going on, everyone? So Hermione is the Draco Hermione ship from Harry Potter. We have talked before about Harry Potter. It's what got me into reading when I was in middle school. I have a lot of mixed feelings about Harry Potter right now, but that's because of the author, so we don't have to dive into that. We've talked about this before, Alexandra and I, but these fan fictions are written by some very talented writers. And some might be wondering, I want to see, I'm going to leave it out there. Any guesses on what fanfics I've read?
Go write your answers in the comments.
Go write your answer in the comment really quickly. So, I've started getting these recommendations on TikTok, and I started seeing a lot of different things about Hermione, but specifically Manacled. A lot of people will know, who are in the Hermione sphere, will have heard of Manacled, have probably read Manacled. It is quite the story. I read it within a week, 5 days, I believe, and if you know how long that book is, that's insane. I did not sleep. I just couldn't put it down. I don't want to get necessarily too far into this because we have lots of other things to talk about, but I just want you all to know I have arrived. I have started reading Hermione. I have read Manacled, and then the one that I read and I actually listened to because someone did a podcast of it on, I think it's on Spotify, where each episode is a chapter of the fanfic, and that one is called Secrets and Masks, which wrecked me as well, but in an entirely different way. So yeah, that's my last little reading update, everyone. I've been busy. What can I say? Is there anything else? Any other books, Alexandra, that you've got percolating in the back of your head that you haven't talked about yet?
One I'm going to hold on to for a minute.
Okay.
And then, you know me, I love a good book about tarot. So that's always somewhere in the mix. So
Yeah.
recently got the... where'd it go? I think the Light Seers. So it's in tandem. The author, Chris Ann, she made a Light Seers tarot deck, and I think it's Tarot for Light Seers is the expanded version of her guidebook. And I feel like we've talked about it, I'm a card reader. Sometimes I struggle, people are like, well, you don't really need to read a guidebook to know cards. I'm like, I kind of disagree with that, because I think anything I do read, all it will help is improve me. I'm really excited. So she's got full color and full page illustrations of her cards in that deck. And then she goes into like the light seeker side and then the shadow side. So more like a reversal. And so I really love I think it's really her only deck that I've truly connected with. So I really love to see the different symbology that she kind of puts into different things. And I really just hope that by reading it and kind of absorbing what this artist sees when she looks at different symbols and signs, then I can extrapolate that and expand it onto other decks that I read. So I love to nerd out about tarot. We all know that. So I won't spend
Yes.
too much time harping on that because I could be here all day. So why don't we delve into movies and TV? Because I
Okay,
know, Christine, you said
let's
you
do
were
it.
mostly reading, but what's
Yes.
the what on your watch list?
So recently, not a whole lot, but I recently watched, this just came out on Netflix this month, earlier this month, end of
Mm-hmm.
last month, called The Life List,
Yes.
starring Sophia Carson. It's so sweet. It might be based off of a book, I'm not sure, but it was a great sort of sweet movie to watch. Heart full of heart. It's about a young woman after her mom's death figuring out who she is again, and has these messages from her mom that she purposely sort of set up a challenge for her daughter to do after, and this is revealed to her after her passing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a sweet watch. If that is something you are interested in, I would recommend. I started but have not finished, and I am loving The Residence on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Alexandra also wrote a note about this for her. I'm interested to hear her thoughts, but I haven't finished it yet. So
Okay.
please no
No spoilers.
spoilers.
Alrighty.
But
Alrighty.
that's like in the whodunit genre vein. It
It's
gives
great.
me like Only Murders in the Building vibes. It gives me
Mm-hmm.
Knives Out vibes. It's a good time. That one, for those who don't know, is also on Netflix. It is a TV show and basically what happens, a murder happens at a state dinner in the White House. And the greatest detective in the world is called in to come and solve it. And she is a
Hoot.
quirky woman. She's a hoot, but she's quirky, and I like her a lot. So definitely one of the things I'm loving lately. Excited to finish. And then lastly, I just started, and it just started airing weekly on HBO Max. They release one episode a week. The Last of Us season 2 has started. I don't know if you know anything about that, Alexandra,
Mm-mm.
but it is a TV show that is based off of a video game that is very beloved in the gaming community. Season 1 I watched last year with two of my best friends. We did a weekly or watch together, and we've started season 2, and I actually started playing the game. I'm
Oh,
gonna try and
cool.
be a gamer, maybe. Who knows?
Okay.
I haven't
Gamer
played.
Christine.
I've never been much of a gamer. I played video games as a kid sometimes, but it never anything I necessarily dedicated a lot of time to. But this in particular, I'm really interested in playing the game. So I actually started, didn't get very far. I'm very bad. I die really quickly.
That's fine.
But, it's a learning curve, I'm
Right.
learning.
And you'll get better.
Exactly. It'll get better. And by the end of it, I'll be a pro, maybe. Who knows? I guess it's 30 plus hours of gameplay, so there's plenty of
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So that's what I've been watching and loving recently. How
Nice.
about you? What about?
Well, I feel like I should talk about it because The Residence, you mentioned it. I
Okay.
stumbled across it because the trailer was just so funny. And funny, and I mean in a way it was like captivating. It was clearly a whodunit. It looked like it was going to be comedic but interesting. And I love that the show just keeps you guessing the whole time. And I stopped watching it and
Yes.
I showed it to my mom. And so then we started watching it together. And by episode 6, we're like, how is there still more?
That's where I'm at, by the way. I'm at
Okay.
episode 6. I've watched it.
7 and 8.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say a thing because, like, oh
No,
my gosh.
please.
But I love the way it's told. It's the present is where they're doing, what is it, a Senate hearing or hearing, looking at this murder and like the investigation into the murder. Is it truly a murder? Is it not? All that thing.
Yes.
So the actual murder and the whole investigation process takes place in the past. And it is so, in some ways, it's so choppy. So you're getting bits and bobs of the information throughout the whole show. And you're like, I think I've figured out, we know who's done it. And then it's, oh, nope, here we go. And there's this whole other line of questioning, and she's going this way. And I think one of my favorite things, it's definitely not a spoiler for you, Christine, but I think it was in like the first episode where the greatest detective in the world, she's a birder. I love that. She's just the whole thing so she can go birding. But the FBI agent who's, I guess, assigned to follow her and help her. He setting up the one of the investigation, like, interview rooms, and he's, "What's that?" And she's like, "Paper. What's it for? Writing. For what? Words." And it was just the way in which it was delivered was absolutely funny. Their whole dynamic, the entire show, was great. And
Yes.
I love, she's, "I'll ask the questions," and he's like, "Well, I want to ask the questions," and she's like, "You will not." They go into a thing, and so he does it, and they bring in the first person that we see interviewed, and she doesn't say a peep, and he's, "Well, you want to know about this, right?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to tell you. I don't have to stay here." So he gets up to leave. He gets to the door. He's like, "Well, you probably want to know about this." So he starts telling. He's like, "Well, that's it. I'm done. I'm walking out." Goes back to the door, and then he turns around and says something. And, like, she has not said a word the entire time. He finally spills all of his guts. He
Yeah.
leaves, and then the FBI turns to her, and she's like, FBI agent turns to her, and he's like, "You ask the questions." And it was just, loved it. But I was talking to a coworker who was interested in this show, but in the scenes where it goes past, it's like fast-paced jazz music, and she doesn't like that. So I thought that was really interesting. Been rewatching it because just to see if I can catch some of the things earlier, and it was interesting how much I didn't really notice it, but yeah, it does pick up the pace and starts to make you, like, kind of get into it. So I thought that was really interesting. Um, but other shows that I've liked, I've been enjoying Matlock and Elspeth. Elspeth is kind of like it's a crime show, but it feels more like who done it, even though you know who did it in the beginning, and you're kind of watching this character figure it out. So that's really fun. Matlock is like a legal drama, and that's really interesting. It's picking up. I don't know if we're at the end of the season, but my gosh, I think it's already slotted to come back. So I'm excited. I think both of them are. And then I love Sweet Magnolias. A new season released, what, March? So
Yes, I think so.
I hope they do another season.
I
It'll
haven't
be
yet watched it.
interesting. So I won't tell you anything,
Okay.
but it's cute. I think I was talking about this with my sister, and I love loved Gilmore Girls. There are still that I really love and enjoy. I used to rewatch it about like once a year, once every year and a half. And then my most recent kind of watch through, I stopped halfway through, and I couldn't stand, like, half the characters were pissing me off, like Lorelai and Rory, so much. And then I had found Sweet Magnolias, and I feel like Sweet Magnolias has kind of filled that void of where Gilmore Girls has left me disappointed. So
Okay.
yeah. And then movies, I've been rewatching some ones that I love. Haven't really ventured into new ones, but The Life List is on my to watch list. So
Oh, okay. Fascinating. I didn't know you haven't watched it. Cool. I recommend it. It's good.
yeah.
It's sweet.
So that's my movie list.
Okay. Cool.
Alrighty. Where do you want to go to next?
Well, let's quickly. I just want to touch on, I don't know if you have anything to say, but podcasts that I love to listen to and always find my way back to. I kind of go in two directions when it comes to my podcast.
Okay.
True crime or comedy. True crime, I always love listening to Crime Junkie.
Okay.
Ashley and Britt are great hosts. I love how Ashley always sets up the story and Britt adds in her commentary.
Okay.
Good time I have with those two. And then I also love laughing when I just want to put something mindless on and just giggle. I love listening to the Tony and Ryan podcast,
Okay.
who are two friends who I think they used to work with each other in radio and then decided to do this podcast. They started in, I think, during the pandemic. But they are from Australia. They release daily, I think, during the week, Monday through Friday. And they're like 30 minutes or a little more, a little less. And they're just funny. They talk about everything and nothing, and it's a good time. But I haven't listened to scripted podcasts in a long time, but a couple of recommendations in that realm is The Bright Sessions and Wolf 359. Those were two really great podcasts that I enjoyed listening to for their story, for the quality of what they did in terms of the editing and sound design and everything like that. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in listening to, I recommend those two podcasts, The Bright Sessions and Wolf 359. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Okay. So crafts. Any crafts?
Yes.
that you've been into?
Well, you know me, I love a good craft. I love to get creative and get my hands dirty or busy doing something, depending on the craft. So recently, I haven't done a whole lot recently, but what I did do this past Christmas was I personalized a gift for a friend. I basically thrifted a jacket, a denim jacket, and she's like my horror movie gal. We this past year we started watching old horror movies, and we have a whole long list, and we're constantly sending each other stuff. I think we're going to go see that movie Sinners next week. I don't know if you've heard anything about that one. It's starring Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's kind of, I don't know a whole lot about it, but it takes place in like Jim Crow era in the South, and there's vampires. So I've heard really great things. It looks really interesting. I think we're going to go watch that on Tuesday. But back to the craft that I was talking about, I personalized a jacket for her, and I basically painted an image on the back for her, and I added patches, and I did some embroidery because that's one of my favorite crafts that I've been getting into more and more over the years is embroidery. It's a great thing to do while listening to something like an audiobook or a podcast, and I love sort of seeing it all come together. So that's what I've been into crafting wise lately. How about you?
Nice. I haven't really had a whole lot of time for actually doing crafts recently. However, I did get kind of obsessed with the idea of book rebinding because of all the videos at the end of last year. So I've ordered some things to do that. I'm missing some key pieces to do that and time and space, but it is something that I would like to do. It looks sort of relaxing, sort of like very methodical. There's a process and all creative. So that is something I have not yet tried, but want to. And hopefully by the end of this year, I have rebound my first book. I actually bought a book for Christine, one of her favorite books to rebind. Oh, yes. So it'll be a while, but
that's okay. Coming. No worries. I appreciate that. I'm excited to see it when you do have the time to do it. I know you want to like practice on some other things too, kind of get the hang of it. There's no rush, love. It's all good. It's all good.
That is not something that is anywhere near the top of my to-do list right now. Also, I'm missing some real key pieces to do it.
Fair. No worries.
Alrighty.
I like something to work towards.
Let's get into the last one for this section, and that's pop culture.
Yeah. What have you been loving and hating lately in pop culture?
So I think I've been hating. I don't know how I feel about it, but Twilight has had a massive resurgence. I feel like every other thing I've seen somebody in a Twilight jacket, in Twilight's coming up on Instagram and like fun of it, or like comedy sketches on it, but also like news about it.
Yeah, and so much merch and so much like Lego is releasing stuff Twilight, like all of the graphic tees are back, like
Twilight's I think you sent me the video about the Legos Twilight. We were in Target and there was a Twilight shirt.
Yes, like, she's back. I mean, hey, that was an era of my life that I will never, I'll look back on and be like, okay, that was me. you know? Yeah. But, like, it's always going to have a special place in my heart. I find it really funny to see it because, like, people loved it when it was coming out. Then people really did not like it.
They hated it.
I feel they hate it. I think people love to hate it. I think, but right now in particular, maybe it's, like, the nostalgia of it because it has been 10 years.
I still feel like it's
10 years since the last movie came out, which is crazy, by the way.
I still feel like for it to hit this kind of popular resurgence, but that's just
Hey, I don't know what to make of it, but I'm going with it, I guess. I mean, I don't have any desire to reread it, but who knows, maybe one day. I definitely do love rewatching the films and laughing at some of it.
So I feel like I do rewatch and reread them every so often, and it was funny because I think I started rereading the series last year, right? Through the series last year, and we were talking about this and we were writing our notes, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I don't love that's come back? I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's Twilight. And Christine was like, oh yeah. I was like, Yeah, also, and by the way, I'm rereading it, and it got stuck. I never finished rereading it. So since we talked about this episode and like what made a note about this, I have since finished the one that I hadn't finished.
Oh, which
I
one was
actually
it?
Midnight Sun. So I decided to read
Oh.
Twilight. Then I went right into Midnight Sun, which might have been a mistake on my part because having at that point just finished Twilight, I'm like, let me reread the story from the other perspective. So I actually finished it this morning before we started recording, so I
Oh,
could
wait.
say
Wow. Okay.
check.
That's
I
funny.
mean, I literally got stuck at the end, and I was like, ugh, can't get
Was
through it.
that your first read of Midnight Sun, or had you read it before?
No, I read it before. So after the series came out, I was really interested. Like, I was really into the series, and there was a whole thing about Stephanie Meyer. She stopped writing it because somebody. I don't know how true this is, but I feel like this is what I remember from back then. Somebody had gone through the trash and found an old draft or copy, and so she stopped writing it and put what she had up online. And I read it when it was up online, up to like maybe chapter 17.
Yeah, I
And
remember that too.
a
I
handful
think I
of
did
years
the same.
ago, she finally finished it. So I read it and I was like, it's interesting. It's interesting from a different way. And then I'll get back into New Moon after that and go through the rest.
New Moon's like a rough one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me know how that goes for you.
It's interesting. I think it is. If you've never reread it and you were in love with it as like a teen, it may be worth a reread.
Okay.
Be
I
curious
probably
to know what you
haven't.
think of the characters
I don't
as
think
an
I
adult.
reread the books. I think I only read them once, and then I never reread them. So maybe. I still have all my copies of the
Nice.
original series. I don't have Midnight Sun, and I don't have Life and Death. Life or Death? Life and Death?
That one's interesting too.
That's the gender swap, right? Okay. Yeah.
And it has a really different ending because of you can't end that story the same way.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
Good
like
to know.
you gender flip, and you can't have the whole series play out the same way.
Right, yeah, I'm sure. What, does it end with him being turned?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I think so.
Okay. I mean, I kind of figured, like, she's not going to rewrite the whole series
That'd be insane.
with the gender swap. I think she did that for the 10th anniversary, 20th, there was an anniversary that she did that for.
Interesting.
Book,
Okay.
I think. Maybe it was 10th, because didn't the first book come out in 2006? 2000? Anyway. Yeah, so Twilight's back. We have some feelings about it. I also, as I mentioned earlier, have been full on in TikTok and fanfic recommendations. It learns what you like linger on. So it noticed that I was interacting with like darker romance content, and then after reading Lights Out, I started getting like the masked man side of TikTok sent my way, which is interesting. But Alexandra, I don't think you have TikTok, but if you ever do, it's a wild time.
Sometimes I feel like TikTok, like a lot of what ends up on TikTok ends up on Instagram. So I'm like, at some point I'll see it.
True, it does eventually make its way over at some point. But yeah, I think the only reason why I ended up with TikTok is, oh, I remember. So I was down in Florida. This was like just after, I think this was 2021. So it was still COVID-y times, but things were slowly starting to open up, and I was down in Florida with my sister and her boyfriend of that time, and the Super Bowl was happening, and it just so happened to be happening in Tampa, which is near where we were staying, and something happened with her phone the day before the Super Bowl, and we're gonna spend like 10 hours at a bar. I don't have my phone. I need you to download TikTok right now. I'm like, okay. So she's the only reason why I downloaded the app in the first place. And then for some reason, it took me several years, but I started to get into it more and more within the last year. And now I sort of split my social media time. I'll be on Instagram for a while, and then I'll go over to TikTok, but I try to like limit it as much as possible because sometimes it's just too much to just be on there forever and ever. But one of the other things that came out of TikTok for me, because I'm also a musical theater nerd, I love Broadway, I love theater, all of that, I was starting to see content around this thing called Epic, which is a musical theater concept album that is based on the story of the Odyssey. And it's so good, you guys. Like, so it's not a full stage show yet. I think there's an intention to do that. But basically, this started as this guy's senior project for college. And he just has stuck with it, and he's created a whole musical based on the entire story of the Odyssey. Which,
Wow.
and it's really good. And it goes hard. So if you have some time to spare and want to hear the story of Odysseus at all, I recommend. It's a good time. It's a good time. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a wrap on all of the pop culture and silly things that I'm loving these days.
Nice. I feel like we're really giving the listeners a true in-depth experience of what one of our catch-ups are like.
Yes, I agree. Well, let's start wrapping this up maybe a little bit.
Sure.
Let's give some updates about work, life, all that. You want to kick us off? What's going on? We've sort of teased a little bit. You've got a new role at work.
I do have a new role at work. So I have a role that's more data and finance centered. So I have moved a little bit out of straight administrative work, although I'm still doing that until they hopefully can hire somebody and I can offload some of that off my plate. But partially why we're rescheduling the Newport trip is because the second weekend that we were potentially thinking about going is that last weekend in June, and the fiscal year for where I work ends June 30th. And since it's my first year in the role, I was like, I feel like I don't think I can ask for time off at that point because kind of need to be there to figure out what's the what with the new role. So I've been knee deep in learning data stuff. I'm pretty good with that. And the admin role I did a lot of that. So I'm picking up a little bit more there, which is exciting, and diving headfirst into the financial aspect, which learning under the person responsible for the budget and personnel stuff. And oh my gosh, there have been moments I think she was introducing me to it the first day. She's like, okay, how about you come in and we talk about the books, my set of books, and then we're going to talk about this. And I think I looked at her and I was like, please tell me you do not expect me to memorize and remember all this in one day. Please tell me there's not a test at the end of the day. And she's like, oh, absolutely. And you ask good questions. And so I'm learning. Yeah, there's a form that you have to do for different things, and it's got to be just so. And if the dates don't match up, you put in the information 3 times, and it's a wild ride. I've had to pull them back for correction, then I've had to void them, and then resubmit. Yeah, it's been fun.
Wow.
So it's been intense. And then recently, this past week, interviewing for a lot of different roles that are open where I work, and I'm supporting one of the search committees, and they were like, we want to talk to these people, and the chair was like, I want to talk to them on Friday, and so scheduled 6 people for the next day within 24 hours, finalized the last 2 interviews the morning of. It was a wild ride, and I was like, that's a lot. So it's just an intense couple of days, and I was like, all right, it'll be fine. At some point I'll get my head above water, it'll be fine. But yeah, that's my work update mostly. So getting used to everything new, keeping my head above water, wrapping my head around all this new information. But what's going on at work with you But what's going on for you, Christine, at work?
There's a lot happening in our store. So I don't know what I've shared with the class about my job, but I work for a small business here in New Jersey. It is a Italian cooking school and marketplace, and I'm in charge of the marketing for the business. I do the newsletter, social media. We've started a podcast and YouTube channel, so I have my hands in a lot of things. I love it. I get to be very creative, but currently we're doing a lot of updates to our store front. So that's been going on this week, and I actually did some painting this week in the store, and I've been having a good time sort of helping the owner and reimagine how the layout's going to be and how we're going to re-merchandise and display our products and all of this stuff. So that's been a big project. It's been in the works for a long time. I think Alexandra, I've been giving her updates along the way. So this has been like the culmination of month and a half of things happening at the business. So we're very excited to see it all finally coming together, and we should have everything ready by May 9th. So that's been taking up most of my time, but in addition to that, we just celebrated my mom's milestone birthday, and we actually held it at my work because they do private events there. So it was just really kind of like a cool moment to have people come to where I work, experience what we do, because some people have never been there before. And I started to give them an idea of what updates are going to be and how it's all going to look different. And it's been fun sharing updates this week because we just started this past Monday. So it's been quite the transformation in just 1 week. So it's going to look totally different by May 9th.
Right around the corner, so.
It is. We're really just plowing through it. So, but it's all good, and I'm excited to see it all come together and be a part of the process. So, yeah.
Do you have any major life updates or anything that we haven't already covered in the book sphere and the pop culture?
A couple of things I haven't yet done, but I'm looking to do. So for me, I'm looking to start dating again. I haven't opened my dating profile in a while, but I think it's time to do some updates and I think it's time to do some updates and get back out there. Maybe I think I've talked about before trying to see if there's like single type events that I could go to. And I was talking to a friend yesterday who said she might be interested in going to one with me just to try it out, like she and I kind of, we were talking yesterday, getting caught up, and she's like also getting pretty burnt out in the dating app sphere. So she's open to trying something new, and it will just be nice to have someone with you.
Absolutely.
Potentially. Yeah. So yes, want to try to start dating again. I feel like I kind of come out of hibernation like into spring and summer because it's just, and I could be wrong, but I've found it easier to do dates in like the spring and summer months because with what I like to do, being outside, or it's just a fun time of year to be out and about during the spring and summer. So, but other things, I'm looking to do some closet refresh. I shared with Alexandra before we hopped on that I went thrifting yesterday. I love to go and see what I find, but I need to do a little clear out to bring in some new pieces, rethink what I want my wardrobe to be like. So that's also on the future agenda for me. I also have just not been home a whole lot recently. I've been back and forth between my parents' place the last several weeks, several months. So it's nice to finally be back home in my space. I need some TLC. So later today I'll be doing some chores around here, and gosh, I don't know the last time I've been to a grocery store, but I need to go to the grocery store today and grab some essentials for home. And it's a beautiful day out, so spend some time outside. And one last little update from me is haven't figured out all the logistics yet, but I'm starting to feel like it might be time to move. I've loved living in Montclair the last several years, but I think it's time. I don't know. That's how I've been feeling recently. We'll see.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of things factoring into this decision, but I don't work nearby. I don't have a lot of friends nearby. My family's a half hour away. So while I love it, I don't spend a whole lot of time here. Like a lot of my time isn't spent in Montclair. It's where I sleep, essentially, if I'm not staying at my parents or something like that. So I have a lot more to think and figure out how that's all going to work. But that's kind of the last big thing I've been thinking more and more of recently. So we shall see. We shall see. But how about you? Share what's new in your life, my dear? What you got for us?
I think the biggest thing for me that I haven't already shared is I've been in a real urge to purge pretty much everything. From clothing to old contacts to Amazon wish lists. Like I'm trying to clear out stuff. So I think I ordered from a company called Trashy. They're take back bags. And I really like them. You can get Trashy cash, which I don't really care that much about. It is $20 a bag for up to 15 pounds. But I like that if they can't send it somewhere to be sold, like it's not enough quality, so they'll send it to partners for downcycling. So if like you have old bras, underwear, socks, clothes with a bunch of holes that can't be patched or worn, I like that they'll take that and they'll try to make it into something. So their goal is to try and keep as much fashion waste out of landfills. So I really like that. So I actually did send off my first take back bag. I bought a pack of 3, and so I sent that off last week, and it felt
Oh, that
really
probably
good.
felt
And this
great.
was stuff that I had sitting in my closet in a bag that needed to go for a while. And I think an author, Denise Lynn, talks about it in her book Energy Strands, but there's an idea of if you're trying to lose weight, if that's a goal, and you've got a lot of clothing left around from when you were smaller or something you're hoping to get into, and it's not something you truly love, then holding on to that might be energetic weight that you can let go of, and just things that kind of clog up your life that don't allow new things to come in. So I think that's really what I'm feel like it's perfectly timed. Spring cleaning, let's get stuff out of here. So I think I could get easily overwhelmed if I'm like, let me tackle my whole closet and drawers all in one go. So I'm trying to do a drawer at a time, a space at a time. And I think I'm going to do this in 2 ways, like in 2 passes. The first pass is get stuff out. Anything that I'm like questioning, I'm like, I'm going to put away, put it back in. I'll come back the next time through, see if I really will wear it, if I really do like it. If not, it goes. So I'm really in an urge to purge. So I did some of my Amazon wish lists. I've worked on my Etsy wish list. I'm working my way through my old contact. I mean, like people I haven't talked to in over a decade, that the likelihood that I would reach out to them or they would reach out to me is very slim. And if we did, let's be honest, most people are on like social media. We could track each other down that way. So I feel like that's it. And also with that came the urge to purge some of my hair. I got a nice little haircut, and yeah, it's weird. It's very bouncy, and I'm like, who am I? So yeah.
Yeah. We hopped on earlier today, and I was like the first time I've seen her since she's had it done. I'm like, oh my God, you cut it short. It looks so cute. I love it. I
Thank
do.
you.
It looks so fun.
I
It's
feel like
probably
it's
easy too. Easier
perfect for
too.
getting into the summer because it's not so hot, but I do eventually want to grow it back out. But I was like, you know what? This feels like a right time to cut some of it off and get rid of that too. Start fresh.
Nice. Yeah, honestly can't remember last time you had it on the shorter side, so it's looking
I can
good.
tell you. When I left
Oh,
Jersey.
oh, that's right. Yeah, you did. Wow. So it's been a while, but I do
Yeah.
like it. I like how you cut it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So I
Yeah.
think our last thing on other catch up stuff is, do we want to briefly go over the things we talked about in our first episode about what we want to accomplish with the podcast and touch base?
Sure.
So
Let's
do you
do
want to
it.
lead us through that?
Sure. Okay. So, some of the things we talked about. Number 1, we're back to weekly episode drops, and we are so happy to be back. I know we've been having a blast, Alexandra and I, filming these, recording these for you guys, bringing them to you every week. We are still planning to have our little mini hiatuses sporadically, so I think this is coming out in May. So yes, the latter half of May, we're taking a couple weeks off, but then we'll be back with weekly episodes for you guys to listen to do. And how are we feeling? How are you feeling? You liking it?
I'm feeling like
Feeling
really
good?
good. I think it's been so much more fun this semester.
Semester?
Who am I? When am I back in school? I feel
Well,
like a
you've
lot
been in
more.
school a long time.
And I work at a university, so I'm stuck on a semester's schedule. Yeah, I feel like it's been really interesting. I think I've really enjoyed the topics we've covered so far. So I'm really excited for our little break so we can plan a little bit further out, talk about what we want to catch up on, where we want to delve into. So I think it'll be really fun. I'm enjoying the season.
Yes, we're definitely going to be also talking about revisiting some meaningful topics.
Which we've
Season
already
1,
started.
yes, today even, we had a throwback to our mantra episode. So, yes, expect more from us in general with our weekly drops, but also revisiting some really fun conversations we had in season 1. So, yeah, more to come on that. Who knows? And in terms of growing our reach and engagement, slowly but surely, we've been posting more on social media. We've been getting more followers, more people interacting with our content. So it's happening. I had actually a friend from college reach out. She had listened to one of our previous episodes just a few weeks ago when we were doing our conversations around friendship. And we, like many people, you leave college, you just sort of lose touch. And she just so happened to has been following along with our podcast, listened to that episode, awesome. And she reached out. I thought that was so cool, which is kind of like the whole point of why we're doing this, is connecting with people and hoping that what we're sharing resonates. So that's cool. Yeah.
And then we talked about building support and sponsorships, which I feel like has taken a little bit of a back burner as we get back into the swing of weekly podcast drops, kind of working on that engagement and reach. That will come later as we build our foundations. So that's going to be looking forward to that in the future. And I think the last biggest thing that Christine had said she wanted to do for the podcast this year was deepen the conversations. So do you feel like we have been diving in deeper, getting more vulnerable? What do you want to see going forward?
So. I definitely think we have. I think with season 1, it was something new for the both of us. We already have a pretty deep and open relationship with each other, but changing that and, engaging with people and each other on a different level takes some getting used to. There's a little bit of learning curve. Yeah. Being comfortable, recording yourself and putting it out there for the world to listen and comment on, So just in reflecting on how last year in season 1 went and how I was hoping to move forward, this was a bigger step. I wanted to just dig a little more. And I definitely think we've been doing that. For one, I loved our therapy episode that came out just a few weeks ago, and it was fun to listen back and edit through that episode. And I think going forward, we just keep being ourselves, just showing up and being who we are, and it'll just continue to become easier and more natural for us. How are you feeling? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think?
I definitely feel like it is becoming more natural to be a lot more open to kind of just putting your voice or yourself out there and to hell with what people say kind of thing in some sense. Like getting over, I know we've talked about this, we're both very much perfectionists, and do we want to put it out, and kind of just getting past that hump of get out of your own way, do it. So that's been a really great way to push and stretch and grow that way. And I think we've covered a lot of really meaningful topics. I think we've also really done a good job of bridging topics across episodes and kind of like following a natural progression. So that's pretty cool. I've that part.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. I've really enjoyed our conversations around friendship because it was so natural to take that topic in general piece by piece, and I've loved seeing how it's affected people. To your point about it getting easier, this isn't necessarily a natural thing to do. I love being creative, but I've never liked being sort of front and center. So this has definitely, in general, been something outside of my comfort zone. And then you are putting it out there for people. Once you put it out there, it's not yours anymore. It's a part of everybody else, and people will have things to say. And one of our previous conversations was about being misunderstood, and at least I had to come to a certain point where I had to be okay with the fact that there may be things that I share on here or is said that people may misunderstand what I'm trying to say, and that can be scary, opening yourself up to things like that. But at the same time, I believe so much in what we're doing here, and I think we're creating a beautiful space for anyone to just be themselves with no judgment, or as little judgment as possible. It's sometimes people will be how they will be, but always try and lead with kindness. So yeah.
On that note, do you have anything last minute updates, things we want to wrap up?
I think I've talked enough. I don't know about you.
I feel like it'd be a nice long one.
This is strap in, everyone. If you've stuck with us for this long,
thank you.
Well done. Thank you for sticking with us.
Well, that was a lot of ground to cover. literally and metaphorically. From dreamy and slightly chaotic travel plans to pop culture rabbit holes we did not see coming. Twilight, we're looking at you. We're living in a season that's equal parts go with the flow and where's my color-coded itinerary? Whether you're also doing the holiday airport lines this year, deep in trip inspo Pinterest boards, or just purging your closet like your ex's energy is still stuck in that hoodie, same, we feel you. We've got big plans, even bigger to-be read piles, and somehow still haven't finished rereading Breaking Dawn. But hey, life's not about checking all the boxes, it's about curating the chaos. As for those podcast goals we set way back in episode 1, we're checking in, adjusting the sails, and giving ourselves the same grace we always preach. Progress over perfection, friends, always. And such a tough lesson to learn. So until next time, plan the trip, skip the guilt, rewatch the comfort shows, let go of what or who you've thought of. Thanks for hanging around with us today. Be sure to DSM your thoughts and recommendations. We'll be back soon with more heart, humor, and maybe a little less baggage, emotional or otherwise. Stay curious, stay cozy, and stay exactly who you are. Are you enjoying the banter and insights we're serving up? If so, consider tossing some support our way through our Buy Us a Coffee page. Every bit helps in fueling this passion project of ours. Find the link in our show notes and visit our Linktree. We are immensely grateful for your generosity. As we wrap up, remember to hit that like, subscribe, or follow button on your preferred platform. Until next time, let's keep the conversations going, and we'll catch you on the next episode.